Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Squills here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about why we need another Operation Health in Rainbow Six Siege. So Operation Health, the first one, came in Year 2, Season 2, which is the season before I joined the game. I joined in Year 2, Season 3, or Operation Blood Orchid. It came at really important time in Siege history, and the problems that they fixed, such as like cheating, and some other stuff that you can, I'm sure, look up. Really important to the long-term health and success of the game. It fixed a lot of problems that were plaguing Siege and helped the game to move forward. So I think that there are more problems that are becoming more prominent in the eyes of the community, some big quality of life issues with the game. Maybe not issues, but things that definitely could be improved upon, and I think that if Ubisoft would just take one season off from making new content like maps and operators, and they focus on these things I'm about to mention, I think that the community would be much happier with some of these changes than getting 2 new operators and a new map or map rework. So here are my proposed changes for what they would do in Operation Health 2.0. So the first thing that I want to talk about, and one of the areas I'm going to be focusing on, is kind of a training. More of helping newer players and just anybody work on improving their aim. And one thing I think that could help with this is a community workshop. A place where members of the community have some kind of engine with Siege that they could use to help create a custom map with terrorists and other things that they could use as targets to help players go through and work on their aim. Currently the only option for aim practice is either T-Hunt, which is terrible, and I'm going to talk about all the many problems with Terrorist Hunt later in the video, but I just really think T-Hunt doesn't cut it, and I think that there are enough dedicated members of the community that if Siege did create something like this, it would be really good community bonding, and I think a lot of the newer players who need help with their aim would really benefit from this. Another thing that I think is missing and needs to be added is a third playlist, kind of like a practice ranked. I'll talk about the many problems with casual and why that is not, at least in its current state, casual is not really valid as a type of practice for ranked, but I think adding a kind of a competitive environment without the pressure of ranked, similar to what they did in the Road to 6 Invitational playlist in the beginning of 2019. I think something like that, with a lot of similar aspects to ranked, but not that MMR, I think something like that would be really effective in helping people practice the game without the stress of ranked. So now I'm going to move on to my problems with T-Hunt casual and some other stuff that I want to talk about. So I'll start with T-Hunt. T-Hunt is really awful aim practice, and I think a lot of people, if they think about it, can agree. Nitro cells do not help with anything. Bombers do not help with anything. The fact that let me just add, barbed wire does not help anything. All these things can just get straight up removed. The bombers don't make sense. It's one-shot headshots in ranked. Something that takes 2 headshots or more to kill doesn't make any sense. Nitro cells that blow up when you get near them and can block off an entire room in Terrorist Hunt, like, that doesn't really make any sense. Like, you shouldn't be able to get blown up. Like, anyway, I think the ideal thing that people want to be able to do in Terrorist Hunt is just to run through a map, shoot as many terrorists as possible in the shortest amount of time possible without the risk of dying. Like, players need to be able to push themselves in their aim to the limit so that when they get in ranked, it becomes a lot easier to aim. And I think if you really go all out, you're going to get shot by a bomber, you're going to get killed, blown up by nitro cells. There's so many ways that you can die. And I just think that if they fixed Terrorist Hunt and they remove some of the things that they don't need, they stop the terrorists from flinching. That's another thing I really don't get. Maybe they shorten the loading screen, so if you do die, then you can just get right back in the game instead of sitting through loading screens. Things like that I think need to be fixed, and I think it would make aim training a lot friendlier. Now I'm going to talk about my problems with casual, and I'd say my biggest problem with casual is the map pool. Oh my god, if I get favela, and I'm trying to like actually seriously play, favela, yacht, house, tower, canal, oh my lord, these are such bad maps. It's really frustrating because you can't seriously practice things when you're on a map that is completely unfair to one side. For example, house, it is almost impossible to defend. Favela, again, almost impossible to defend. So many soft walls, both such shallow maps. You really can't work on too many things because it's so blatantly unfair for one side or the other that it makes it really difficult to play. So I think they need to remove some of the maps that are blatantly unbalanced. And I think they also need to do basic things like letting defenders choose their site. I mean, attackers can choose their spawn. I don't really get that. And then shorten the timer again to make it the standard ranked 3-minute playlist. You don't need more time in the round just because it's casual. I think that'll make casual a little bit more serious. I think that's about as competitive as it needs to get. I don't think that they should make the matches longer. That's kind of unnecessary. They definitely doesn't need pick and ban in casual. I think just making casual a little bit less casual is good for the game, because something like Rainbow Six, I don't think needs a playlist that people can just completely screw around in. It's just kind of unnecessary. Another thing I want to mention is how difficult ranked is for solo queuers like myself. I am pretty much only a solo queuer. I very rarely ever play with anybody that I actually know. The only time I'll queue up with people really is if I meet somebody in ranked that I actually want to play with again. So I'll add them and I'll queue up with them again. I try to build my friend list as much as possible so that I can queue with people that I know are decent at the game, so that I can have good experiences in ranked. But I think people who solo queue and even duo queue or even trio queue have a very hard time against 5 stacks. And so I think having a separate solo duo trio queue that's separated from 4 or 5 stacks, I think 4 stacks should just be removed, because being the one solo on a 4 stack feels really bad, and it's a huge disadvantage to you and your team. So I think having a separate solo duo trio queue and then a 5 stack queue would help to separate competitive teams who are looking for real practice. It'll help them, and it'll also help solo queuers who just want to play the game and have a fair environment, and it really is not fair if it's 5 solo queuers versus a 5 stack of competitive players who, even if they're not very good at the game, they're going to have strats, they're going to have good communication, they're going to be on like a Discord, they're probably going to know each other and be very comfortable talking. So I think that's just a huge advantage that needs to be mitigated. Other things I want to talk about is just fixing broken operators. There are some things like trap operators that I think have a place in the game but need to be seriously nerfed, and some even reworked so that they're not as powerful. I don't think traps in general bring a good dynamic to the game. Also global operators like Lion, Dokkaebi, Finka, those kinds of operators should definitely be looked into and reworked, because I think those are also just not good for the game. Usually what I think about when I think about an operator being reworked is if it's balanced, then for the most part it's good. But even if an operator is balanced, if an operator is more frustrating to play against than it is to play with, then I think there's a problem there. Operators like Jackal, it is incredibly annoying to get Jackal scanned, but playing Jackal isn't all that satisfying, so I think Jackal definitely needs to be worked on, and they are working on him. Things like that. Blitz is another example. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have to talk about for now. I hope people listen to this, and because this is not just me saying this, there's a lot of other people in the community that have a lot of similar problems, And don't confuse this with me hating on the game. I really do still love the game, and I want it to improve just like everybody else does. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Smash a like if you did. Subscribe for more awesome content. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.